time to preview Group H of this FIFA World Cup. Spain, Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, Uruguay. In my opinion, one of the more straightforward groups at this World Cup. You got Spain and Uruguay, who I believe is a level above the likes of Cape Verde and Saudi. You could probably make the point this Spanish team is the best team in this World Cup. They probably have the best player at this World Cup as well, Lamine Yamal. You also have the likes of Rodri, Pedri. You have a very, very strong unit as a whole. And on top of that, they're building on the momentum of winning the European Championships in 2024. And what I like about this Spanish national teams compared to the ones in the past, if you look at the ones in 2010, they passed the ball by 1,000. They tiki-taka, tiki-taka, tiki-taka. This team can do that, but they also have the dynamism, the verticality of the likes of Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal, where they can go at players. Now, obviously, Nico Williams hasn't really had the same form that he had in these European Championships, but something about him changes when he wears that Spanish national team jersey. So if he can get fit with the way how direct Yamal is, where they go at their defenders, combine that with the Spain national team's ability to control possession in games as well. That's what makes this team real balanced, and that's what takes them to the next level, in my opinion. That's what makes this team more dominant than the Luis Enrique team that could control possessions, but they didn't really have that cutting edge. They didn't have that dynamism. This Spanish national team under Luis de la Fuente does. That's why they won the European Championships, and they did it in dominating fashion. I thought from the moment that ball kicked off against Croatia in their opening game to the end, they were by far the best national team at the European Championships. And I think Spain has an opportunity to build on that momentum at this FIFA World Cup. I think they will win this group, and they will finish perfect in this group. Nobody really competing with them. To me, this Uruguayan team, I haven't been more pessimistic about a Uruguayan team entering a FIFA World Cup. They do have the likes of Federico Valverde, but this is a team since the Copa America. You had what Luis Suarez said about Marcelo Bielsa, about the players now liking the team. There being a real disconnect with the coaches and between the coach and the players. And you see that when you watch them play football. They weren't great in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers as well. They haven't been great in their send-off friendlies as well. I watched them play against England where they had that 1-1 draw at Wembley, and I thought they really struggled in that game. I thought they played some pretty bad football and were pretty hard to watch. And they don't have the Luis Suarez, the Edison Cavani's, the Diego Forlans of the world. They don't have that sort of. They have this guy Federico Valverde, who is one of the best midfielders in the world. But then outside of that, you have a Facundo Pelestri. You have you're still relying on the likes of Araujo and Jose Jimenez in the back. There's just something about this Uruguayan team, but I do believe they will go through into this group as second place team, just because of the quality of the bottom two teams. Look, Saudi is a team which, they had that big moment in the 2022 World Cup where they beat Argentina. They qualified through, but since they qualified in some of these friendly send-off matches, they've really, really struggled. So much so that they ended up firing Hervé Renard just a month before the tournament, and a lot of the times that doesn't work out. It worked out for Morocco, I think, when they went to the semifinals of the World Cup, where they sacked their manager a couple months before, but just the Saudi Arabian team, I don't know about them. They're just watching him in the friendlies, they really, really struggle. And I think against Ecuador, with this new coach coming in, I thought there was some better patterns of play. But really, if I'm Saudi Arabia, or if I'm even Cape Verde for that matter, I'm circling that final group stage game. You need to limit the bleeding against Spain and Uruguay, and really comes down to that final game. If you can get a positive goal differential in that final game, because third place teams do move on, and that's really what it comes down to. And speaking of Cape Verde, first ever time qualifying out of the for the World Cup. It's their first time ever. What's the funny thing about it is I couldn't get a real proper scouting report. I watched a couple of their qualifying games as well. They topped the group with Cameroon, which was impressive. They also played some good football. But the one thing about them, and same thing you can say with Ghana, they didn't qualify for the African Cup of Nations. They were one of the 9 teams out of Africa that qualified for the World Cup. 9 automatic teams that qualified for the World Cup. But they didn't even make it to the African Cup of Nations. So, yeah, there's that. That's a story in itself. I don't think they're at the level of some, the better teams at this World Cup. They are one of the worst teams at this World Cup. That's just the honest truth. But who knows? They can cause some magic. Maybe they can pull off that final victory against Saudi. That might be enough to go through as a third place team. I don't know. But, hats off to Cape Verde. And yeah, I think they have a good contingent population in the northeast coast as well. So there's that as well. Maybe that can help them push them on. Maybe. But yeah, because of that, Spain, they're going to win this group. Perfect. 3 points, 3 games, 9 points. They're going to win this group. Uruguay will get in second. I think Saudi will squeeze above Cape Verde, but it's really a toss up between those two teams.